Okay, Kelly, so this is your design, and I have already enlarged it so that it is 16 inches across as you requested. So there's a couple of different ways that I would approach trying to analyze this design so that you can stitch it out in two hoopings. So you've got to actually look carefully at the different components here. Basically, if you were going to be trying to stitch this out in the square 23 hoop, that would basically mean that you would do two 9-inch hoopings. All right. So basically that would mean, I think, that you would be splitting the design somewhere, halfway down, so that you would have 8 inches on each side of that design. However, if you were to try to split it that way, what you're going to get is you would get all these breaks right here in the middle of these leaves and these little flower buds. And so that's not a good idea. What you really want to do is you want to try to keep each one of these elements as an individual element so that when it comes time to stitch them out, you're not going to have to be matching anything up. All right, so that's the first plan of attack that you need to take a look at. The other thing is, after you've decided that, is just to start looking at the different parts of the design and see where there are some natural places where you might be able to split this thing apart simply and easily. All right, so the first thing that I am noticing is that I probably would not want to do a split anywhere in this area here. The reason being is that you've got a nice big poppy right along in here. You've got these little flower stems that are behind the poppy that technically could, you could take this whole section of the design from these little leaves over and including the poppy. But then what you've got to have happen is you need to make sure that when you're hooping that this leaf that's in the background behind the poppy is also going to line up exactly perfectly straight. Now, I could also say that I think that that would be a pretty good place to split the design because you could stitch out this entire part of the design first, and then when it came time to stitch hooping number 2, if this dimension over here is going to fit in one of your hoops, then this would actually be a pretty good place if I zoom in on this a little bit more. This would be a not a bad place to have to match up a design. If this little running stitch went a little bit too far into the poppy when you stitch out hooping number 2, I don't think it would be something that would be terribly disturbing to the eye to see that. So that could possibly be a good place to do your split so that we'll turn on the measuring tool in a second. So that this would be hooping number 2, everything over here, and hooping number 1 would be everything from over here. Let's turn on our measuring tool right here and let's just take a look at how wide those designs would actually be. So from the edge of the poppy, giving it just a little bit of extra, drag the mouse over. See, this is only going to be about not even 6.5 inches, which is pretty good, which basically means that this part of the design is going to be about 10 inches, right? Let's go from there all the way over to the point where we're looking at this here. So we're looking at a 10 and almost 10.5 inch design, which would easily fit into the GR hoop on your machine if you're to do this on the 15,000. So that could be one way that you would split this design. The other one, to me, that's a little bit more obvious would be to split it over here in this section, in between these little green flowers. Okay, so let's move the design up a little bit. So where the split would be right along in this area. All this green flower and over would be a nice place to split this design. I think I would prefer that. And that's the one that I would suggest doing. Again, take a little look with your ruler tool and see what the measurement looks like. Okay, so I still got ruler tool turned on. I'm going to turn it on and drag it across. So this section of the design is again, just a little bit over 6.25 inches. Let's check this one here. So this leaf down here is going to be our right or our left side of our design. Let's drag it over and see. Again, it's going to be about a little bit over 10.5 inches. Again, that would easily fit in the GR hoop. And this one would easily fit in the square 23 hoop. All right, so once that decision has been made, this would be the next thing that I would do. First of all, let's turn off the ruler. or I guess I can escape that one. I would do a copy and paste of this design. So I would do Control A. Everything's kind of running slow. I would come up to your toolbars, and this is a copy. Then I would open up a new page, and I would paste it there. All right, so now what I've got going on is I've got two different copies that I can work from here. And now I can begin to split this design apart. So let's say that this is going to be hooping number 1, and this part's going to be hooping number 2. What you have to do next is you have to come along and find all those parts, and let's just try to group them. Let's start working from the perspective of the fact that a lot of colors are being duplicated in this design. So if I were to try to hide, let's just say this first color here, and start hiding things, you're going to see that the same colors have been duplicated in different spots here. All right, so this is where it's going to take you a little bit of time in order to try to find the stuff that you want. So what I just did is I clicked on this sequence bar and I expanded this item here, for example. So I'm going to unhide this one. So this one here, when I hit the plus mark here in the sequence bar, everything that's part of this thread color number 447 is going to show up in this list right here. I don't even know what color what 447 is, but let's take a look at some of the pieces. Those blue lines right here for this stem. Okay, so that was part of what we did. We wanted, trying to look at this here. Yeah, we wanted this to be part of hooping number 2. Okay, or to the right side of the hooping. So we could take that, and let's see what the next little section is. It's a little bit of the green over here. This design is going to have a lot of jumps in it. A lot of jumps. Okay, so it's just showing you where all these things are. So technically what I could do, pretty good. If this is going to be my hooping number 1, I'm going to try to find the parts of this design that I don't want in hooping number 1, and I'm just going to select them and make sure that nothing is selected over here that I want to have on that part, and I'm just going to start deleting these things. All right, coming down here, I want all of those gone. This here, gone. All right, do you see what I'm doing? I am just taking away the things that I don't want in that hooping. All right, and I'm doing it very carefully here in this area where the two designs are going to meet up. I'm going to leave that leaf as part of this hooping right here. All this stuff over here, I now could probably drag a big box around it. I won't be able to get all the way across. I'm going to delete those. I don't know how these are going to match up, but delete them. Let's take that. Let's delete it. Some of these ones, let's delete. Let's delete. All right, so what we've got now is our first hooping. All right, do you see that? So I could Control A to select all of those things here in my transform box. I like to do my position here as 0.0. Let's apply it. So now this design is centered in my hoop. And I can save this as design number 1. So I would just come up to File. Let's save as. We want to save this as a JEF file because it was originally a JEF file and we're not trying to transform it. So I'm saving it as in my Kelly folder. I'm going to do this as, I'm going to change it just to hoop 1 and save it. Then I would go back to my original design over here. Let's open it up. Let's do the same thing with it, but this time in the reverse order. This time we're going to get rid of everything on the right side of the hoop. So let's come in carefully down here. Remember, we're saving, this is all going to be part of hooping 1. So let's start selecting the items. Just make sure that nothing that you want in your second hooping is going to be there, all right? And just start getting rid of your stuff. Did I do that right? Design 1 is the right side? Yeah, okay. Yeah, and the design 2 is going to be the left side. So just start clicking away. Get rid of all this stuff. All right, and then once Wanted to undo that because I think something got taken away that I didn't want taken away. No, I think I'm all right. Okay, I just wanted to double check. So if you ever start getting click happy and start deleting things that you think you might have messed up on, take your time. All right, let's just draw a big old box around all this stuff here. Let's delete it. You've now got this part here, Control A. Let's use our transform box to center this in our hoop. 0.0, 0.0, apply it. It is now centered in my hoop, and the next thing that you probably are going to want to do is open these up in the print mode, and you're going to want to print out these templates. And then you'll be able to position them on your fabric just exactly where you want them to be, okay? Make sure you get the crosshair on there and all the things that you need. So I hope that this helps you, and it was just kind of an approach to starting to analyze designs that are too big to complete in one hooping. And the world is going to be just wide open for you to be able to do great big embroidery designs when you start looking at designs and figuring out, you know, how it is that you might be able to split them apart for a multiple hooping. To me, this is the easiest way to approach it rather than using some of the built-in things that are on the in the programs. All right, so the other thing that I just want to mention before I close out this video is take a good look at how, when we enlarge this design, what it did to the actual stitches, and make sure that you like some of those things, because you might want to open up more of the digitizing tools and do some repair work in there. You know, if stitches have gotten too long or too short or different things because you have changed the size of the design. All right. I think that's about it for now. And once again, I hope this helps you. Talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.